So thank you very much, Stefano, for joining us today. As Netcomm Suisse Association, we are trying to share experiences around how our companies and members are reacting to coronavirus, and also a bit of expectations, what we should foresee happening in the future. Thanks a lot for joining us today.
My pleasure.
So let's start quickly on the very first practical and pragmatic questions. How has coronavirus impacted your day-to-day working routines in the office?
So coronavirus has impacted strongly our daily routines. First of all, because we took immediately actions in order to ensure the security and safety of our employees. And this since the beginning of the initial signs of the crisis. I'm talking about, I would say, third week of February, more or less, where we started with a travel ban. In order to avoid any potential spread, and we recommended all the employees to check their health before to reach the office. And we started immediately after to adopt the smart working mode and fashion for our activities. So the impact was mainly on this aspect, so the security, but on top of that, we organized right away a management crisis team, and we started looking at our main figures and indicators of our business to check all the aspects and replan for a potential contingency plan for the year.
Thanks. Also, I use quickly one of your presentation. You are, of course, the CEO of a Swiss company, born in Ticino, but you are Italian, and also you have offices around the world, in Geneva, in Dubai, and Kuwait. How the coronavirus is widespreading in the different offices, and how people are reacting on the timeline?
As you know, Italy after China was probably the most impacted country in terms of timing, and also in terms of unfortunately victims and the number of infected. And one of the first that took actions against and trying to contain with the most serious interventions like basically the shutdown that has been introduced just recently in the last week. It was weird to see how the countries are acting differently and are considering in a different way the impact of coronavirus on their situation or economy. I think we experienced it directly, having different businesses in different countries. What is happening right now is that more or less all the countries are adopting the same measures in order to contain the spread of the virus. So the lockdown is one of the words that we learned in this recent crisis, is more or less in place in all the countries we are working with. Before the lockdown, there was the travel ban, and this somehow will introduce smoothly the fact that some customer that was expecting to have us in front of them during a specific phase of a project turned into a different mood, the meeting, but we've been able successfully to carry on the meetings. And
you just mentioned your customers. You just mentioned about customers. So how are your existing client and prospect reacting? Like, what is your perception on that level?
It really depends on the different business. So we don't have a specific focus on a business. We have a wide variety of industries that we serve, and obviously some has been heavily and immediately impacted. First of all, I think that everybody will be impacted sooner or later. So that this is a very how to say, unexpected crisis that has a very big that will have a big impact on the entire economy. Probably we don't have something similar in our generation. Doesn't really know something similar. Doesn't really experience something similar. Somebody mentioned the black swan to try to explain a little bit the impact of something unexpected, completely unexpected, and of global impact. So global impact means that every business will be touched sooner or later. Some within our customers has been impacted immediately. I'm talking about specifically travel and tourism and transportation. How they react, but well, first you manage the emergency and you take care of your employees, because this is always the priority. So you try to avoid any risk for them, and then you start looking at your business and try to understand how you can recover somehow. We have different reactions. Somebody wanted to accelerate certain projects that was already on the pipeline, because they just want to react and be ready to be reactive as soon as things come back to the normal life. Somebody else just decided to stop everything. Somebody is moving with caution. Basically, we don't have a clear and homogeneous situation. We are looking every day, monitoring carefully what happens, and we try to stay very close to the customers. The good point probably is that we are not looking for a new prospects. We are not talking too much with new prospects at the moment. We are very close to our existing customers because they need support. Since we are in the digital field, they really need to have somebody that can help them to support for specific things, from very trivial activities to very strategic elements. Then they really need support and feel that partners are there. We don't consider our clients only clients, we consider them partners, and we want to be a partner of our clients and being very, very close to them.
You just mentioned the word strategic. I know that Tinext has evolved quite a lot in the last year. It's growing in terms of services, activities, and geographics. By the way, congrats what you have achieved until today. But which are the implications at strategic level in terms of your projects?
That's a good point. We have a strategy that entails a relevant growth for this year with the same path of the last year, and also and this also entails a different part of changes within the organization. So a new operating model, new hiring, obviously in this situation it's difficult to be able to perform this. So basically we just put on hold for a while, and we are now focusing more on the current business, which has become the part of the emergency, in order to be more effective in giving answers to our clients when they have more need. But it's still there. I don't think we'll just postpone for a while, and we will be ready to push again and to fulfill our expectations in terms of rolling out our strategy as soon as things will be more or less at the normality.
Good. And moving from strategy to very practical and pragmatical aspects, what do you plan to happen? What is realistically going to happen, in your opinion, in the next 6 and 12 months? So what about the business? Do you think it's going to be stable? Do you think the people will have time to work at the same time as before? And how are you actually planning to react in the different scenarios that I guess you are creating?
I would like to have the crystal ball and see. The future is difficult, very difficult to imagine how to figure out what can be the future. For sure, the impact will be at least 6-12 months between the total lockdown and then the slow recovery. That will probably take some months again. Not all the business will have the same speed. Imagine that after a period of forced detention within house, people is hungry of having more experience going out, and everything will start again. But it will be not for sure in a very, how to say, in a very short moment, in 1 month. It's going to take time, for sure. It's going to take weeks or months, and our way of interacting will be different for some time again. On our business, I'm expecting an impact that it will be probably from the next few weeks onwards. At the moment, we don't see yet. Not all our business will be impacted at the same time, at the same moment. We have a part of business which is based on recurring services, and these are more or less stable projects. For sure, will reduce the speed or will be probably blocked or cancelled. We expect any kind of potential situation. I think that we should look at what's happening right now in China to have an idea of how we can restart after the total lockdown, and what are the behaviors that we can see. And there are some trends that probably we have to look with interest, trying to apply to our latitudes here, to understand a little bit how our world should restart again in the future.
Now that are actually quite a few weeks, I guess, that you are facing this situation and people are working from home, as you just said, do you see that there is any positive aspect in the new way you're working, and also maybe in the relation with the existing customers? Is there some positive aspects out of this crisis that we can take away?
Well, there are very practical aspects, like working from home. It's in our field specifically totally doable. It's something that we can really do and manage successfully. It was a little bit difficult at the beginning to convince customers that it was possible to work in that way. But after a few weeks and successful meeting managed, I think that it's possible, and that this can be adopted even in the future with positive results and positive impact, and less travel, less effort for traveling, less environment impact. Why not? We should look also at these aspects. The other aspect is less practical, more if you want something as a feeling. I'm experiencing a very, how to say, positive and feeling in terms of solid sharing within the team, our team, and within the customers and the team, and we are teaming up with customers successfully working on projects. There is a kind of how to say strong participation that makes sometimes things easier, even when it is not that easy to manage certain things from distance. There is a goodwill from everybody. And this, I think, it's in the critical moment in the crisis, you really see the good part of people sometimes, and this is the case.
Yeah, I have to say that also among our members, we are experiencing the same. We have some very structured members that we have a big financial capability that are also themselves calling to see if they can anticipate some invoicing. This is for us, of course, it's a big thing, and I totally agree that during this moment we should really team up and partner together, which is a bit, again, the spirit of our association, and also the spirit of this interview. Thanks again for giving us the time. Of course, we see also that customer and final consumers are actually changing their behaviors. We are thinking right now about releasing a couple of studies on what people are doing where at home, because at the end, right now we still have good financial capacity, and of course people are shopping differently than before, and maybe also different things. Do you see already among your clients that there are some of your clients that actually will benefit from this crisis in terms of development of their business?
Well, yeah, clearly there are some specific industry that is let's say it's not affected. I'm saying if they are benefit, they are growing because of groceries, just an example. E-commerce in general is growing, but it depends on the categories actually. So it's not all at the moment, but it will change soon, I guess, because as soon as people will, how to say, go through the first emergency. They start getting used to be at home, and they start again to buy certain things. The point is that so often this is something that I experience as a consumer, not as a company leader. There are very poor experiences that are provided by the online platforms, specifically on certain players, that are completely not ready for this emergency. So often many elements. So starting from the technical infrastructure itself, going through the user experience or the way that systems are working, that are really poor often. And also logistics is a big problem, that they cannot ensure the delivery that is expected. So this is a problem, specifically in a region like Lombardia, which is a huge, with 11 million people now forced to stay at home, and they all are buying stuff at the same time. And so there are other businesses that are trying to manage this part, because obviously it's complicated. Then I'm expecting that some business will start before others, and will probably thrive in a certain moment, because also the expectation of people will be to have to buy things to somehow how to say get back to normality. Another business that we are supporting, which is growing, is everything is related to the digital content that clearly are in a high demand. Any kind of content,
like media company.
Yes, exactly. And this is still let's say is still working well.
Yeah. And what about your own marketing? Like what are you planning to do in terms of marketing for customer acquisition in the future?
Okay, so our budget marketing was the first we looked at that once we started replanning and redoing our budget with an emergency and a crisis budget. And of course, we did in our team of emergency management. In fact, most of our budget marketing is invested in events or in direct relationship with prospects. There are two things that are not longer possible. So this goes, let's say, perfectly in line with our main decision of staying closer to our existing clients to support them as much as possible, instead of doing, let's say, prospecting or other kind of things like this. So somehow we are, I'm not saying switching off, but reducing, and we will do more digital instead of doing, obviously,
so
events.
Is it possible to expect that you will invest in these few coming months now, or next coming months, on digital marketing and more on physical when it will be back possible? Do you expect that people and customers as well will want to go to physical events more compared to before coronavirus before?
This is difficult to say. I mean, for sure, we can how to say, use virtual events or webinar or whatever, it's web meetings to get in touch with our employees, prospects, customers, peers in our industry, and so on. And this would probably replace part of the physical events for a while, because the going back to normality probably, as I was saying before, is going to take time. It will be probably a new normality, where maybe we all wear masks, or I don't know, we will stay a certain distance each other, no handshaking anymore. I don't know.
Yeah.
This would for sure will change. I think that people will have a lot of how to say, they would probably want to meet each other again, but this situation will probably drag for a while again. We can replace many of the events with something more virtual. I think we need equipment for doing that is not all the companies have. And for sure organize different things, but it's still possible. Absolutely, I think it's
so I abuse of your courtesy, and again, thanks for your time. You're also one of the members of our association. What do you think Netcomm should do and should offer during this month to especially our member community?
Mm-hmm. I think that what we need as associates is mainly information in terms of data. So what is happening on what are the let's say the predictions based on data on I don't know, consuming certain goods or what people is doing right now, as you mentioned before. Behavior of the consumers during this phase and immediately afterwards, looking maybe at different markets where the things are moving forward and they are overcoming somehow, like China. This is an example, just to have a more relevant data first. And during this emergency crisis, I think that making people talking each other, so company leaders having the chance to share situation knowledge and maybe team up together to support again customers, even potentially competitors. They can team up to be more effective on the market, either towards clients, having a common, let's say, point of view for specific things that are related to coronavirus impact, or towards institutions in order to get the right, let's say, consideration in a certain moment.
So again, Stefano, thank you very much. It has been really a pleasure. We will publish this interview for all our members. We're also planning in line, and I'm happy to hear with your feedbacks, both consumer related studies on checking the trend, but also probably a digital meetup among some of our members to exchange their views. So for sure we will invite you. Again, thanks for your support, and
thank you, Carlo.
I wish you a lovely day.
Take care, stay safe, stay healthy, and thank you for everything to all the team. Ciao.
Thanks.